Hello again. In this video, we are going to talk about how to solve problem words in American English. Now, a problem word is any word that you have a problem with, any word that you have a problem pronouncing, more specifically. So if you have a word that you come up across and your mouth is just not comfortable moving in that, in the way that it should in that word, and you find yourself either avoiding that word or stumbling upon it anytime you come to it, then here's a strategy for you to use and to practice with those specific words so that you can learn to say those words smoothly and confidently. All right, so for problem words, here's what I want you to do. First, I want you to break down the word into syllables, and we'll be going through these steps together. But first, we're going to break down the words into syllables. Next, we're going to identify the sounds in each syllable. Then we're going to identify the stressed syllable in the word. We're going to pronounce each syllable separately. And then we're going to merge the syllables slowly together. Okay? All of this should take maybe a minute to identify, maybe 2 minutes to identify. But as you go through these steps and you go through this method of breaking down the problem word, you will find that you will be able to say those words a lot more smoothly. So let's go through each of these steps together so that I can show you exactly what I mean. So first we're going to find the syllable. So every syllable has one vowel sound. So as a reminder, every word in English has one or more syllables, and every syllable has one vowel sound. Okay, so for example, there might be 2 vowel letters. Oh, I guess this situation there's a vowel and a consonant, but this creates one vowel sound. Okay, so for example, we're going to break these words into syllables. Literature, literature, literature. Development, development, development. Fractured, fractured, fractured. Okay, so if you see there's 2 vowel sounds in that last syllable in fractured, but the E doesn't get a pronunciation in it. Fractured, shirred. So 1 vowel sound per syllable. The second step is to find the sounds. So I'm going to be using Rudin phonetics, but essentially you need to find the sounds in the words, not necessarily how it's spelled, but how it sounds. So, for example, li-der-a-ture, li-der-a-ture. Okay? If you're not sure what sounds they have in the word, then you can look it up at dictionary.com. They have something that's similar to Rudin phonetics, the way that they spell it out, the way it should be pronounced, or the way it should be pronounced or should be spelled based on the pronunciation. Or they have the International Phonetic Alphabet spelling of it. But they do have dictionary.com is a great resource for being able to break down the sounds. So literature, li-der-a-ture. Development, development. So we're breaking it down into the sounds that are in that word. Fractured, so it could be fractured, fractured, or fractured with the SH. I've heard it both ways. Okay, next we're going to find the stress pattern, because the stress pattern in a word makes a big difference in how that word is pronounced. Now it might, so we want to make sure that we're getting the correct stress. Again, dictionary.com usually has the stressed syllable bolded or highlighted in some way. Okay, so we need to find out which syllable is stressed in this problem word that you have. So for example, literature, literature. It's not li-der-a-ture or li-der-a-ture. It's literature, first syllable stress. Development, development. It's not development or development. It's development, second syllable stress. Fractured, fractured, first syllable stress on that. It's not fractured, fractured, it's fractured. Next, we're going to say each syllable. So we need to break, now that we've broken it down, we want to pronounce each syllable separately. Okay, so li-der-a-ture, li-der-a-ture. Make sure each syllable that you can pronounce that one. If you need to even break it down further and say li-der-a-cher, then do it. Whatever that sound combination that you're having a hard time with, break it apart and make sure that you can say each of those sounds separately. So da, vel, up, mint, and fractured, or fur-ack-sh-erd. Break it apart. The more you break it apart, the easier it is going to be to get your mouth to say those sounds, and then we're going to merge each syllable. So once you're able to say those specific sounds individually, then we're going to start merging them together. So you are going to slowly blend those sounds together. For example, if you do li-der, li-der, der-a, der-a, a-ture, a-ture, whatever the combination, wherever the breakdown is, where you find difficulty in pronouncing that word, that's where I want you to kind of practice that and break it into those just smaller chunks. A-ture, a-ture. And then once you have that, der-a-ture, der-a-ture, or li-der-a, li-der-a. Break it down. So da-vel, vel-up, vel-up, velopment. You know, whatever the way you need to break that down and slowly merge them together, that's what's going to get that flow and get your mouth comfortable moving in that direction. Literature, development, fractured, fractured, fractured. Okay. All right, so as a review, we want to break down the word into syllables, identify the sounds in each of those syllables, and then identify the stressed syllable, because we want to make sure we're practicing it with the correct stress. We want to pronounce each syllable separately, and then start slowly merging those together. And as you do it, it might take a little while where you're like, oh, I just need to slowly say this over and over and over again, but eventually your mouth will get comfortable with that movement, and then you can speed it up. Okay? Here's a big grouping of some of these longer words that you could possibly have problems with. So go ahead and choose a few of these words and go through the exercise. I have a worksheet in this lesson where I have broken down these words and have identified the sounds that it should be. So if any of these words you're having a hard time pronouncing yourself, then go through that worksheet, identify, and I've helped you identify the sounds, and then practice merging those together slowly so that you can get that fluid movement in your speech. All right, try it out, practice this week, and I'll see you again in the next video.